Hello there, I'm Juliana Michaels and I'm delighted to be here on the 49 and Market YouTube channel. In this video, I'm sharing how I use the new stamps and dies designed by Katy Petite for 49 and Market and Sizzix, along with the Vintage Orchard collection to create this card. So for this card, I'm going to be working with some of the new stamps and dies designed by Katy Petite for 49 and Market and Sizzix. And the stamp sets I'm going to be working with are Forever Journal Essentials, Forever Leaves, and Birdsong. And I want to give you a little bit of a closer look at the stamp sets if you haven't seen them. This is Birdsong, and it's got all these really great little handwritten pieces and different typography with the little birds, some music notes, some numbers, and some postal canceling, little definitions. It's just a really great set and definitely one of my favorites. I love little stamp sets like this where you can just kind of mix and match and create all kinds of little accents or backgrounds with them. This is Forever Leaves, and again, another beautiful set with these kind of hand-drawn leaves that are perfect for coloring and creating your own embellishments and designs. You could also stamp these straight to the paper and create your own background designs. So many options with this set as well. And then this is the Forever Journal Essentials, and again, another great set that is perfect for any time of the year. It definitely speaks to fall, but I feel like with some of the tickets here that say, you know, oh my heart, and friends, and the very best, like these, there's thankful, you know, those could be used all year long. And I just really love the versatility of this set. And then I also love these little notepad type designs as well. All of these stamp sets have coordinating dies, and when you look at the packaging, the image that is solid, that in color, indicates that there's a die. So for the Forever Leaves, there's a die for each one of those images. And in this set, there's dies for the little tickets and the birds. And then in this set, there are dies to do this little notebook paper and the different ticket shapes. The other products I'm going to be working with are from the Vintage Orchard collection designed by Katy Petite, and I'll be using the stacked frames, the 6x8 collection pack, and the ephemera bits. To start off, I'm going to create an ink smushed background using some distress ink in old paper. I'm just going to smush the ink pad onto my craft mat, add a little bit of water to that until it kind of beads up, and then I'm going to smush the paper into the ink and just kind of rotate it around and push different areas of the paper into the ink on my craft mat. And then I'm going to dry this with my heat tool. If you don't like these little speckledy dots, then you just want to add a little bit more water or do more of a swiping motion instead of just like straight down. So it's just kind of a matter of playing around and figuring out what kind of look you like. You can also add a little bit more water if you want. And then you just kind of keep going until you're happy with how it looks. So I got another little bit more ink on here, and now I'm going to dry this. I'm happy with how this looks, so now I'm going to move on to the next step where we're going to do some stamping with the Birdsong stamp set. And I often like to just kind of do a little bit of a practice piece on just a scrap piece of paper and kind of figure out how I might want to play around with the stamps. What I'm going to do here is get my paper positioned in my stamp and stencil tool from Sizzix, and this is kind of like a sticky grid paper that'll kind of help hold that paper down in place. And then I can kind of play around with how I want to position these stamps on the background. So just gonna start kind of peeling these off and playing around with where I might want to place them, and also kind of using this previously stamped background as a little bit of a guide for ideas of how I might want to lay things out on this one. So once I have that first layer kind of figured out, I'm going to add the lid and then close it, and then that will pick up my stamps. And then from there, I can just add the ink I'm going to be working with. And here I'm using some VersaFine Clair and Fallen Leaves. And so then we can put these over to the side and clean them. And then now we're going to add a little more stamping with some other images, again, kind of referencing that background. And now we're just going to repeat that stamping. And now I'm going to add some stamping with just a slightly different color of ink, just a little lighter brown. So now I'm going to add kind of another layer of interest to the background by doing this. And then for this layer, I'm going to be using VersaFine Clair in Portobello. I'm going to add one more little bit of stamping up here, and I'm just going to repeat this image here. And there is a look at our finished stamped background. So now I'm going to create some embellishments for the card using the Forever Leaves and Forever Journal Essentials stamp sets. So now I'm just going to place a couple of these leaves on here to stamp, and I'm going to leave a little space around them because I'm going to use the coordinating dies to cut these out. And then I'm going to use a couple from here, and again just leaving myself a little room so that I can die cut these. A few of these little tickets. And again, we'll pick those up with this stamp lid and then apply the ink and stamp them onto the paper. So now I'm going to take the coordinating dies and die cut these elements out using my die cutting machine. So now that we've got all of our die cutting done, we've got a couple different ways you can add color depending on your choice or whatever mediums you might have. So you can take a blending brush and just apply the ink directly to the die cut like that. So that's one kind of quick, easy way to add color to a die cut. Another option is to do some ink smushing like we did on the background, where you just smush the ink pad down, add a little water, and then smush your die cut into the ink, and then just dry that. Another option is to take that ink from your craft mat, and then you could use a paintbrush or a water brush and use that to color in your image if you like. You could also use watercolor pencils if you have them. So with the watercolor pencils, I like to just pull the color straight off of the pencil using my paintbrush or water brush, and then coloring that directly to the stamped image. So just a variety of ways that you can add color and interest to your die cuts. And then once you have your die cuts all ready to go, then you can just kind of ink the edges just to give them a little bit more of a vintage feel if you like. And the color I'm using here is Ground Espresso. I've also selected a few of the pieces from the ephemera pack to add to this, so I'm just going to ink the edges of them as well. Now, as I was going through and working on the design for this background and trying to pick out what to create and what to put together, I kind of started off by knowing that I wanted to create this kind of a background. And then I went back and looked through the Vintage Orchard collection, which is the collection I'm using for the ephemera and some of the pattern paper. And I just selected colors from that to help pick out what ink colors to work with. And then I picked out a few of the pattern papers that I felt like would go with as I started kind of playing around with figuring out how I might layer and use some of these different pieces to kind of create like a little bit of a collage type effect. So it was really just a matter of playing around with things and figuring out how I could put these together to create, a little piece here onto the card. And then, I did create a couple of extras just in case that I felt like I wanted a little bit more to tuck in here and there. I'll put that one right up in there. So then it's just kind of a matter of playing around with placement until things just kind of look pleasing to me. I usually try to kind of keep things kind of opposite from each other as far as colors go, so that your eye kind of moves across the design. And the same thing here with this green here, kind of it circles around here, and then you've got another little pop of it here, so it helps keep moving your eye around on the design. Here's a look at the completed card with the various stamped and die-cut embellishments layered together with some of the ephemera and frames. I hope you enjoyed seeing how this card came together, and thanks so much for watching.